You may have heard horror stories about the conditions of asylums. Some are true, but not in the modern world. Mental hospitals are now government regulated. However, it took over 200 years for it to change. There are three main treatment revolutions that took place over this period of time.
The first revolution of mental treatment is known as hospitalization. This was the process of putting away the mental, also known as lunatics. Lunatic comes from the word lunar, meaning moon. It was believed that insanity was caused by either being born under a full moon or sleeping under one as a child. They thought the full moon led to devil possession. In order to get rid of the devil inside, they tried to force it out. This was usually done by electric shocks or getting rid of bodily fluids by inducing vomiting or bleeding. No positive outcomes resulted from this kind of treatment. Instead, the patient would often get worse or even die. This management of the mental lasted all the way until the 1800s, when the next revolution began.
The second revolution of mental treatment was known as moral management. Unlike the first revolution of locking away the sick and trying to force the insanity out of them, this strategy involved focusing on the patient's needs and trying to treat them like normal people. This concept was introduced by the Europeans and can be traced to one of its founders, French psychiatrist Philippe Pinel. It was thought that the environment affected behavior of those in the hospitals. Hospitals did away with chains and cement walls and replaced them with beds and decorations. They took away physical restraints and made the patients do everyday activities like farming and carpentry. The increased hospitality led to better results, but it also led to higher admission rates in the hospitals. The homeless started moving into the asylums during the winter months, and families would admit their elderly simply because they could not or would not provide for them. There were no criterion for admitting or releasing patients, so this led to overpopulation of hospitals. As a result, there was now a lack of patient care and reversion to the first revolution methods.
The third and most modern revolution is called society cooperation and interaction. It started in the mid-20th century and focuses on getting patients well enough to put them back in society. After the population explosion in mental hospitals, drug therapy was developed. This allowed people to be healed quicker and released sooner. These actions inspired government officials to regulate admittance and release policies for asylums. This led to a dramatic decrease in the number of mental patients. The government also declared that all hospital employees were to be paid. This left no money for activities such as farming that were used as treatment during the second revolution. However, doctors and nurses now put their attention on individual rather than group management. In modern mental treatment, focus for patient release is to recondition them to live in society.
These revolutions did not come about suddenly. There were reform leaders that helped bring about these changes. The first person we'll look at is Dorothy Dix. After teaching a Sunday school class for women inmates at a Boston prison, Dorothy was appalled at the living conditions. She investigated other jails and mental hospitals in the state and was able to get state funding for hospitals and schools for the mentally ill during the 1840s. Dorothy then traveled the rest of the country and did the same thing, before moving to Europe and establishing hospitals there during the 1850s. Another major influence during the same period was Elizabeth Jane Cochrane. Her pseudonym was Nellie Bly, and she was a journalist for the New York World. Tired of writing articles about only female topics such as gardening and fashion, she demanded another assignment. Nellie went undercover as a mental patient at an asylum for 10 days, surviving the harsh treatment from nurses and filthy living conditions. After being rescued, Nellie wrote about her findings, and New York was outraged. Officials then donated their time and money to improve the conditions for the insane. Management of the insane has been a long and unplanned process. From electric shocks to farming to drug therapy, it has changed drastically in the past few centuries. Those who are mentally ill are no longer seen as lunatics, and the government has helped in regulating their treatment so it is humane. There have been 3 main revolutions, and there are possibly more to come. It's been a long process, but we are not done in helping the mentally handicapped.